Good morning, everybody. 8:11 a.m. It is May 5th. I guess Cinco de Mayo, huh? Oh, look at this market. New all-time highs in the Nasdaq futures as I speak. As I speak, semiconductors continue to get love, up 1.17% currently. Crazy. Now, yesterday there was a lot of news, which is nothing new. Headline risk in the markets that were kept popping the markets down, popping the markets up. If you ask me, pretty annoying. Pretty annoying, especially when setups come like my short setup that played out perfectly, but news took it down. And I was like, great. That was my short scenario playing out in front of my eyes. I'm a stalk on a short, and next thing you know, news brought it down. Then news is popping the market up, and news is popping the market down. Annoying, to say the least. All right. So my bias was a little cautious short in the ES yesterday. And so yesterday I had a couple shorts. Didn't work out. One of them got broken by news. I would have to admit they weren't the best shorts. Then, where me and one of my community members were talking about where we wanted to short, I was ready to walk away for the day, and it came to that area. And then I saw an opportunity, and then things started to turn, and I actually was able to add to my position in that short, and it actually wound up being a very nice return in that trade. It was almost a 5R trade. So that pretty much turned my day around. Kind of like, always teaches you a lesson to really you know, trade the best possible scenario. And once I saw that come to the area that I wanted it to, the market acted accordingly in probability. Before, what I was trading was kind of like I was following what the market was doing, but was I highly convicted? Not really. And I even talked about this with one of my good friends. I was saying, like, I really need to just stay in highly convicted times where I'm highly convicted, not where I'm like, I don't know, I don't like this, what's going on, this is annoying. Probably stay away, right? And probably should have set an alert at the place that I only wanted to probably look for a short, and that would have been it. I even was going to look for a long at one point, which would have worked, but with the help of news. And I would have been honest with you, if I would have made money on it, it would have been luck because of news. Now these markets are ripping right now. I don't know if you can hear those large orders hitting the tape. There must be some type of news that just came out. I mean, that's the only thing I could think. Something was just said, or let me look at that real quick. Only thing I can see, I'll show you right here, is top U.S. General Kane. We anticipate more vessels to transit in the coming days. All right, so the top U.S. general's talking. He says here, top U.S. General Kane, Iran attacks have been all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. All right, that's people are liking that. I mean, he did say Iran continues to attack its neighbors. Also, 22,500 mariners are trapped in the Gulf and are unable to transit. Oh boy. Commercial vessels will feel the U.S. combat power around them on the sea and the skies. The joint force remains steady to resume major combat operations against Iran if ordered to do so. I don't. Market's ripping. Market's ripping. All right. This is just how this market is now. Headline risk is very high. Right? Trump can say something. Iran can say something. Hegseth, Besant, this colonel or general All right. Now today we have AMD earnings after the close. We also have ISM and Jolt Straub's at 10 a.m. All right. That's what we have going on today. Palantir is actually down 1%. They were just actually down over 2%, but they had beats. There's got to be a reason why market's not liking what their earnings said, I guess. Okay. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's how I come up with my game plans. Once the market opens, I use market internals to tell me what is driving the markets today. Throw in some ICT, smart money, concepts, and anchored VWAPs along with my weekly expected move indicator and my gamma flip points that I provide for free both in my Discord. Okay, basically my own proprietary system that I use to trade with. Okay, built on Confluence, hence the name Confluence Trading, multiple things lining up. You fire, right? So, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set an alert. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, technical analysis, and I always give you later in the stream the ES and the Nasdaq scenarios, long and short. Now, if you want more coverage, more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay? Now, let's get over to that futures watch list here. This crazy market. Okay, Bitcoin is over 80,000. Can that continue? Don't know. Okay, if it does, it's going to push higher. Okay, Ethereum's up 1.23%. By the way, it's up 1.36%. Bitcoin, Ethereum up 1.27%. Silver up 1%. Gold up 0.87. Russell's up 0.80. Nasdaq's up 0.77. ES up 0.48. The Dow is up 0.40. 30-year bonds are being bought. Dollar pretty much flat. 10-year yield is down to 4.41 yield, down 0.32%. Crude is down 3%. Even though I don't see much to make crude down, but it is. Okay. VIX is down 3.5%. Move over to Mag 7. Bitcoin proxy Coinbase is up 3.70. They also report earnings this week. AMD reports earnings after the close, up 2.18%. Okay, a lot of love here. Amazon up 0.83. All right. Now, who's down today? Eli Lilly down 0.22. Apple down 0.38. All right, moving on to top sector stocks. Who's winning today? Oracle. Oracle's up 2%, followed by NEM, the mining stock, up 1.55%. GE Vernova up 1.35%. Caterpillar up 0.83. Salesforce up 0.74. Who's lagging today? Let's see here. You got Exxon down 0.20. Palantir, they reported earnings after the close. They are down 1.25%. Look at the granular list here. Woo, Pinterest. Whoa. Up 17.5%, Pinterest. Wow. Micron up 4.5%. I think this is Fiserv up. They reported earnings, I believe, up 4.36%. Intel up 3.73%. ASML, so semis. Look, Micron, Intel, ASML up 3.17%. MicroStrategies, that's your Bitcoin, up 3%. Ulta Beauty up 2.32%. Lam Research up 2.29%. Hood, Robinhood is getting some love lately, up 2.29%, of course, with Bitcoin. SoundHound up 2.2%. I think that's Cloudflare. Could be wrong about that. I always get those mixed up. Arista Networks and Cloudflare. I don't know why I keep getting them mixed. Applied Materials up 2.12%. ARM Semi up 2%. Gold Junior Miners up 2%. Let's see who's lagging today. Laggard today, Shopify. I believe they reported earnings. They're down 6.10%, followed by AstraZeneca down 1.72%. That's it. There's not a lot of laggers in that list. Okay. Sectors. There's your leader. Semiconductors. That's a risk-on market, folks. That's a risk-on market. And a tale of two markets, right? ES, not near all-time highs at all. Nasdaq making new all-time highs as we speak. Okay? Technology, up 0.92. Discretionary, up 0.59. Utilities, up 0.41. So the market's all up. And energy's barely a laggard, down 0.08. Okay? We're going to move on now. This market's crazy. It really is. It really is nuts. Let's go to the economic calendar. Alrighty. Boom. All right. We got today ISM Services PMI at 10 a.m. Jolts Jobs 10 a.m. Fed Bowman 10 a.m. New home sales 10 a.m. Okay. So 10 a.m.'s got a slew of data. Okay. Now, let's go to Trump's schedule here. Okay, let's see if there's anything here. Signs a proclamation at 10:30. Participates in a policy meeting at 12 p.m. 3 p.m. Press briefing by. Okay. I don't want to be anywhere near the markets at 3 p.m. So press briefing by Secretary of State Marco Rubio at 3 p.m. Look at that. 3 p.m. The president participates in a pre-taped interview. Don't want to be by that market at 3 p.m. Okay. Let's look at the juice here. General's been talking. We are still at low-level connects at this time. U.S. Secretary of War Hegseth. The ceasefire is not over. Oh boy, the ceasefire is not over. All right. Oh well, that's actually positive. I don't know why I was reading the other way. Yeah, the ceasefire is not over. Okay. But the general just said 1,550 ships trapped in the Gulf. Who knows? I'm just got to follow price. Okay. Let's move on to some news here. All right. Tesla faces EU skepticism over automated driving tech, records show. Palantir lifts annual revenue forecast on robust U.S. government demand. Palantir Technologies raised its annual revenue forecast and beat estimates for quarterly results on Monday, a sign of growing demand for its data analytics software for the U.S. government and commercial clients. However, like I said earlier, it's down. Okay. American Pilots Union Chief says United CEO's merger idea showed bold vision. Berkshire taps Charlie Shimier, I don't know how to say that, to succeed Ajit Jain as insurance chief. OpenAI co-founder discloses nearly $30 billion stake financial ties to Altman. Now, Wall Street futures here advancing, signaling a recovery in equities, though renewed tensions in the Middle East threaten to upend a fragile truce after the U.S. and Iran exchanged fire in the Gulf. On the economic front, investors await the Labor Department's latest job openings and labor turnover survey, JOLTS, report for fresh clues about the health of the U.S. labor market. Commentary from Federal Reserve officials Michael Barr and Michelle Bowman are also on the radar. Meanwhile, corporate earnings were set to provide another test of sentiment, with results due from heavyweights such as AMD, KKR, Pfizer, and PayPal. Okay? Let's dive a little more into Palantir here. See why maybe it's weak. The company raises annual revenue forecast and beat estimates for quarterly results on Monday, a sign of growing demand for its data analytics software from the U.S. government and commercial clients. Palantir's Maven AI system, a command and control software platform that analyzes battlefield data and identifies targets, is set to become an official program of record for the Pentagon, locking in long-term use across the U.S. military. The company now expects fiscal 2026 revenue between 7.65 and 7.66 billion, compared with its prior expectations of 7.18. Just drop it. All right. What else here? All right. Before earnings, Coinbase, J.P. Morgan raises target price to 290 from 252. CoreWeave, Jeffries raises target price to 160 from 120. Roblox, Piper Sandler cuts target price to 50 from 100. Wow. Wow. That's pretty serious there. Okay. I think that's good for now. Let's go to breadth. Let's look at the breadth. Let's look at those breadth charts together. All right. Let's refresh this. All right. So, bullish percent index. Remember, this is not time-based. It's from point and figure charts, and it uses, like I said, point and figure charts. They don't use time. So, I love it because it just gives you how much percent of 500 stocks are on buy signals. We're at a 58%. It's very middling. Okay. Let's check out the NASDAQ. 60%. So even the NASDAQ 100 is not like really at crazy levels. Interesting. Okay, now we're going to dive into sectors, right? Technology. Let's look at it. 69. Now you can see that's a little elevated, right? Almost 70% of buy signals. When you get in the 80s, like we always were, that's frothy. Okay, that is frothy. So let's keep moving on. Let me get the order of the market cap sector weights here. So technology is the most heavily. Then we go into financials, 68%. So a little bit getting towards, not all the way. It was up in the 80s, so we pulled back, right? So nothing too frothy. Let's go to third in the list. Communications actually is the third on the list now. 52%. So communications is very middling. It's in the middle, right? Then next, now communications, just so guys let you know, is your Meta, your Google, your Netflix, okay? Your Disney. That's communications. Now, moving on to discretionary. This is your Amazon, your Tesla, your Home Depot. Very middling, 50% on buy signals, okay? Moving on to healthcare. Healthcare is actually a little tiny bit oversold. Healthcare. That's very interesting. Okay, so healthcare, if it comes coming down, that might be a sector that we rotate into. All right. Industrials, 50%. A lot of nothing's overdone too much. The only thing we've seen weakness in is healthcare, right? Let's look at staples. 50%. Very middling. That's the theme right now. Very middling, except healthcare, right? Energy. Remember when I said down here, ooh, that was overdone. Look what happened. Boop. So 68% of buy signals. Okay. We'll go down the list here. Let's see real estate. 67. I just noticed this the other day. Real estate's having a nice little run. Okay. And materials here. And here, let's see. That's your mining stocks, your Sherman Williams, your Lynn. 70% on buy signal. Okay, so nothing super overdone. The only thing I see is healthcare possibly getting a little more weakness. And let's go to the 50-day and 20-day breath. It's also a good barometer. So in the 20-day, which is the faster moving average, 46% are above the 20-day moving average. 46. Okay. When you get up here, that's frothy. Look, 80%. And look what happened. We pulled back. Now the 50 is a little slower moving average, right? Let's see that. 51%. So it's very middling. Right? So the whole market's kind of like in this flux because it should be because of the Middle East tensions. But we know what's going and driving our market. It's technology. It's semiconductors. It's semiconductors, right? Look at those semis. Now look, you pulled back, people bought it, and now we're consolidating, right? Pre-market where we're at is at 513. We're at 513. We're $7 over yesterday. No, I'm sorry. Yesterday's close was 50902. I know it wasn't. I have a 50679. Yeah, there we go. Last 50679. And we are at right now 513. Unbelievable. Unbelievable run. It is going to fall apart at one point. We don't know when. Okay? This is driving the markets. It just is. It's crazy. It really is. Okay? That's your breath. Moving on. Internals. Bread and butter. Pretty much never lies. Okay? That's why I love it. So, yesterday, look, markets weren't ridiculously weak. They were on the weaker side, not super weak. Okay? Look, tech. Yesterday's semis was the laggard. I don't have this in this list because they're not a major sector, but semis was the laggard from the open yesterday. Okay? Look, so your top four sectors were in the red. Hence why we moved lower. Right? Green and energy. Energy was the leader. Okay? So energy was your leader. Staples was flat. Healthcare was up a little bit. You didn't have a lot of green yesterday. Okay, you started off good. Then there was news that came out that there was bombs hitting UAE and all the whatever. That took the markets lower. Crude shot up to like 106. Okay, very headline risky market. Okay, now overall market was kind of neutral. You could see the NYSE advanced decline was 1100 minus 1125. Okay, NYSE was a minus 1.81. Nothing crazy. Okay, I didn't think we were going to fall out of the sky. Okay, so but yesterday, if you were live with me, I was calling out like, "Hey, Nvidia, I want to see this," and I was saying specifically, I'll show you right here in the Nasdaq. There was a key level here. At one point, the price action was all hanging here. And I said it live. I said the 278s. I said if we lose this level, the market's going to rip all the way down and take out all of this. And it exactly did that. It exactly did that. Show you the price action real quick here. Right here, I said if we rip through this level, and look at that, zoom, came right down and ripped into this major demand. And look, you did. You hit the previous day's lows, that ripped up. Right there that is not that is not big boys buying the exact low of previous day, right? That is the little guys buying that exact low. Okay, now you can see we're all-time highs right now. Craziness, and the ES is not. Okay, craziness. Let's go to daily charts. So you can see on Friday, remember, look, we closed at the lows, right? And what did we do? We opened up, pushed back into the previous day's range, got that negative news, and then we sold off to where? A previous weekly high, basically, right here. Okay? Now, where are we at now? 721.50s. We are at yesterday's highs. Okay? Yesterday's highs. Futures, let's look at those. Let's get rid of these. Okay? Here's futures. It's just, you could tell we're starting another balance area, basically, is what's happening. This is just ugly. This is just showing the price, the headline risk, showing the flux that we're in the markets, that it just can go either way. Okay? It really can. There's not much to disseminate from this. All right, let's look at Qs. You can see this parabolic move up. All right? And now we have little consolidations prior, and then we move up. Right? So let's look at where here. Yesterday, kind of have more or less a doji day. This little hot pink line is last week's close. Okay? So we're negative on the week slightly. But right now, we're at 677.80s. You're all the way up here, gapping up above last week's highs. We're at all-time highs right now in the pre-market. All-time highs. Crazy. Okay? And what happens in this is futures, is like, all right, what if you were just short and short and short and short? Oh, this crude is going to make our market and you're getting blown apart. And then what happens too is people who are late to say, "Oh my God, I thought this market was going to crash. Let me get in. Let me get in this market. Like I need to start getting into the semis. I need to start like right. It's like FOMOing. So this right here, you know, if we get below this area, 26,436s, there is poor structure here. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, crude can't stay above $100 a barrel, and this is going to be cool. And I'm not calling for a crash. I'm just saying it's going to affect the economy. People don't spend money as much as they will if gas is expensive. It's just what happens. But this is the market's looking at this like it's temporary, which it usually is temporary. And we priced it in. Got to remember that. We priced it in. So we need some new information. Who knows when that new information comes? Okay. But NASDAQ futures at all-time highs. You can see right there, 28,000 we reached today. That's a psychological number, possibly. Who knows if that's possible as temporary top? I don't know. Okay. Hourlies. Let's go to the hourlies. Now, very distinct difference between the charts here. Very stark contrast. All right. Very stark contrast. Now, without headline risk involved, because you never know. Okay, this is still looking like lower to me. In the ES, though, right? Because if you just look at it, look at this little trendy trend, right? I actually didn't go over that. It's like right here, right? So you're sticking to this little bit of a downtrend here, and now you have this kind of ugly move up that if you get, see last month's highs right there, rejecting, this could really get cleaned up today. If there's some negative thing that came out or whatever, this would just stay within the trend. Okay. See, we stepped into this demand, got bought. Okay. Now, yesterday, this is where I caught that short right here. Actually, was that where I caught it? I don't want to make that up. No, I think I caught it 72.37s, I think. Yeah, about 72.37 is where I caught that short. So on a half-hour chart, let's show you here. So right when the market poked its head up right around here. Yeah, 37. And then I got out around, I think I got out around somewhere around here. So that was a nice trade. And then we just ranged. Okay. All right, back to the hourlies. So that's the name of the game right now. Okay, what I would say right here is this little liquid level here, which is around 72.67s, which 72.66 is last month's highs. There's so much overhead supply here. Okay, that's why I'm leaning short. Okay, and this, even though it's very ugly, is not the best, and this could get cleaned up pretty much. Now your most traded price of the week is now 72.30s, but happened to be yesterday's most traded price. Okay, so like I said, and remember the market's very, very, very efficient. Talked about this all the time. Look at this impulsive move up, and guess what happened? You moved, you broke through some of it in the overnight, and then look what happened yesterday. You finished it off. Boom. So look to the left. There it is. There it is. Okay, now this isn't the most impulsiveness, but it is kind of a straight up move that can be taken back. Okay. It's going to be 83. So let's move on. Nasdaq, and you're going to see a stark contrast. I just showed you overhead supply, right? Look at this. Nasdaq's at all-time highs. Semis. It's all about those semis. There is no supply here. Okay, let's get rid of this little guy. So that was all-time highs. It's just crazy. This is just insane. Okay, how strong the Nasdaq is. And now, very important. If there is a turn in the market, money's going to rotate out of tech. Okay. When does that happen? I have no clue. Okay. So we're going to put a little swing low here. Okay. And there's last week's highs right there. Really, I mean, tail of two markets. Big time tail. All right. So, all time highs. Now, look, that's that move. See, we made down here. Let's look at the symmetric price action again. Look, impulsive move up. Pretty much taken care of. And then it tried to finish it off yesterday. So, look, all of that impulsive candle is taken away. There's the impulsive move down, right? All of that has been taken away. Now, this move up is not as impulsive, right? But it's kind of like up, 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 up. So I'm very cautious on a short in here in Nasdaq. I mean, you just have to be. It's strong. Okay, your shorts should probably be in ES. Okay. So our most traded price of the week is now 278.74s. Okay. If you hold that, it's pretty. You got to be bullish. Okay. Last month's highs is all the way down here. Remember, ES is battling last month's highs. So it's just a tale of two markets. Can't really say anything different here, okay? Moving on. We're going to get into that market profile and volume profile, okay? Alrighty. Here's your market profile and your volume profile. Now, remember, every dark shaded area is the regular time trading hours, which is 9:30 to 4:15, and then the rest of it is overnight activity. So I have them separated into sessions. Okay? So, let me get rid of this. So we have supply, right? Overhead supply in your ES. We're inside yesterday's range. Okay? So let's start the ES long and short trade scenarios. Mark out some levels here. Let's open up the session of the overnight. There it is. Okay, we are in supply right now. We almost tried to tag yesterday's highs, but we have not. Okay? Very ugly price action. Really is. Okay? Now you do have demand down here. You do have your most traded price at 72.30 is your most traded price of the week. Okay, so in supply, and look at this area. The overnight highs and yesterday's highs, 62.71 to 72.69 is a key area of resistance. That's what I'm saying right here. To me, it looks more of a short in the ES. Okay, and then you can see if you can clean up all that overnight activity down to like the 72.30s. Okay, so why don't we get right into scenarios? We're going to start with shorts. So what would I look for here? We're in supply already, okay, in a heavy supply. And now I know we have this liquid level yesterday, 72.71s, 72.69s is the overnight high. So what I would like to see is it push up, take out yesterday's highs, take out the overnight highs, and then close back in. So it would be like a sweep, a liquidity sweep, right? Then put in a lower high. Now, I would like to have the market not be strong, not be getting driven by tech and semis, and then I'm going to short. So if I short, I'm going to target the most traded price of the week, 72.30s. Right now, the next support would be the overnight lows, the 72.22s. If you lose that, you could touch yesterday's lows around the 7200, which is also a prior weekly high. Okay. Now, gravy on top would be if you really held a run and this market really starts to dump today, you go down to 7160, the most traded price of the month. Now, AMD earnings is after the close. So I don't, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. AMD's getting love already. Anticipation of probably for the earnings, but anything can happen. Okay. And I'm honestly, right now, only interested in that short. Now, longs. Okay. Longs. This is a little messy. I really is. Okay. So there is a lot of overheads. I feel that this is going to be probability wise very hard to keep pushing up unless some news comes out. That's why when I have this supply, I already know caution longs up here. It's not going to be easy. So what do we need? We need a pullback. So what I would like to see is just like I mentioned in my short, any kind of move up that fails, that pushes down and tests the most traded price of the week, 72.30s. Now, if you get support in this area, boom, and get a higher low, retest the 72.30s, you go long. Now you can at least target the current high of the day or the 72.71s, that key resistance. Now let's see if you can possibly move up higher to last week's highs, which is 7,300. Okay. Now, if the market is going to start to do a new balance area, and we do come down here violently, cut through all that, come back into this supply zone around the 72.10s, all right, and you maybe tap yesterday's lows, I'm sorry. Maybe even have to go down and test the 71.91s. If you get love, and you get to put in a higher low, and the markets aren't that weak, you're going to go and target the 72.30s and see if you can hold on to go higher. Okay? It's really all I'm interested in the ES. Now, NASDAQ. NASDAQ members at all-time highs. Totally different type of chart. That's why it makes this market it just makes it difficult. The markets are not in sync. Okay? Markets are not in sync. You're actually gapping up right now in the NASDAQ. Okay? So let's get into the NASDAQ long and short trade scenarios. Break out the session. Now, first thing we're going to mark off is gap fill. 27941s. That's your gap fill. Second from that is the 50% retracement of yesterday, 27778s. Now, just the opposite in NASDAQ, you are above the most traded price of the week, which is around 27880s. Right here. You have multiple demand. Okay, so as long as you hold the 27880s, which is the most traded price of the week, that is bullish. We're at all-time highs right now. See what I mean? It makes it difficult because I'm bearish in the ES and I'm bullish in the NASDAQ. So it just makes it not easy to trade. Okay, so what are we going to start with? We're going to start with longs in the NASDAQ. So, currently at all-time highs. Remember, all-time highs in overnight session are not generally secure. We hit a psychological level of 28,000. Okay, it doesn't mean it can't be taken out, but usually people on these round numbers, just like the ES's all-time high right now in futures is 7,300. Okay, so what do I want to see? Now, easy peasy here could be just a pullback to the gap fill and then you take off. So gap fills 27941s. I think that's a little shallow of a pullback. Could it work? Sure. I probably prefer a deeper pullback. So I would like a pullback into those 27880s, the most traded price of the week. Maybe you have to even have to dip your toe into that demand zone around the 27850s. Let's say you jump up, pull back, retest the most traded price of the week, 27880s. That's your long. You target overnight highs, the 28,000. And then you just try to see if you can ride that off into the sunset to all-time highs. Okay? Now, obviously, there could be deeper pullbacks, so you could still get long. Okay? But right now, I think that's what I like. Because otherwise, if you go back into this highly traded area, it's going to be hard. Okay? Again, our markets have a lot of headline risk. Now, a short, which is like not very easy to see here. It's just not. Okay? And what I'm going to say is this. What I would probably be comfortable with is you want to see the NASDAQ break below the most traded price of the week, the 27880s. You want to see it probably take out at least one of these demands and find acceptance, right? That's an hourly close, at least a half hour close underneath the 27880s. If the market is tech's not driving the market, this would be the only sign where a retest of the 27880s might be a nice short targeting overnight lows, 27727s. Okay, that in itself was a nice trade. Now, if you hold a runner, try to go out for yesterday's lows, 27614s. Okay, and you do have this equal low here, right? So that definitely can break. Definitely can break that. And then if really we get weakness today, you're going to go down to the most traded price of the month. That's your 27400. Okay? I need that 27880s to be act as resistance. I need us to find acceptance below it. And I need tech or semis to take their foot off the gas. Otherwise, I'm not shorting NASDAQ. Okay? That's it for me, folks. Let me give you my overall market analysis. Okay? ES. Okay? We know we're playing around the last month's high, 7266s. Okay? We have overhead supply. There's a lot of overhead supply. So for me, I am leaning short for ES. And I'm cautiously short because the markets are disconnected. Who knows what's going to happen today with Middle East news? I don't know. Crude right now is down. That could change in a heartbeat. Okay, so for myself, I have to lean short on the ES. It's just hitting major levels. It has a lot of room. It has a lot of overhead supply. Okay, Nasdaq, and we have AMD earnings after the close though. After the close. Now, NASDAQ, it just hit all-time highs. We are gapping up. Small gap, but gapping up. We are above the most traded price of the week, 27880s. All of that points to higher prices. So, for NASDAQ, if the markets seem to just hold strong, your job is to buy pullbacks and try to go long. Unless you find acceptance underneath the 27880s, the most traded price of the week, and find acceptance under it. And you need tech to take a back seat off the open, semis to take a back seat. Okay? And that's where nobody knows it, right? That's where I lean on my market internals, because the market internals tell me off the open what's driving the market. Not since yesterday's close, what's driving the market today. That's important. Okay? So, not easy. Not easy. Again, markets just disconnected. Okay, everybody. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That would mean a lot to me. Okay? Now, as always, do this every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Okay? that'd be much appreciated. I'll give you the market story, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Okay? You want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right? Now, that's it for me today. Okay, now we have our plans. I'm telling you right now, not easy market. Not easy. Disconnected, okay? Remember, no trade's a trade. Follow your process. And today, if I'm not highly convicted, I should go for a walk. Because I know when there's days where I'm like, okay, this is playing into me. This is playing into my hand. And other days where I'm like, this could happen. That could happen. When I'm talking like that, it's probably a sign to just step away. Right? Because I know when there's more than not a scenario for myself to hit my edge. And then where I'm trying to push my edge. Right? So, remember, capital, preserve mental capital. If you make a couple of poor decisions, it weakens your mental capital, and now you're going to let a trade that you were supposed to take go away. Yesterday, luckily, I wasn't happy with my trades, and I stayed with it to go, hey, this is where I wanted to get short, and now it's working, added to it, and it turned to turn my day into a decent day. Okay? I shouldn't have probably taken those two other trades, and my day would have been a beast of a day. Okay? That's the lesson there. All right? Now, everybody have a great day. If I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow.